Hello everyone, it's me, that divination witch. I hope you're all doing well. As I always say, I'm back with another witchy video. This time I'm talking about something slightly controversial, but it wouldn't be one of my videos if I don't touch on something like that from time to time. At the time of filming, a couple of you guys have asked me to react to things that are, well, on the Christian side of things. Now, I've got nothing against Christianity as a whole, as in general. There are people out there who are Christians that follow me. There are Christian witches. I couldn't say the words then. And I've got nothing against that. What I don't like is the fear-mongering and the indoctrination and the brainwashing of it all. And it's not just Christianity. There are other religions that are guilty of this too. But I didn't want to just single one person out or single one thing out. I just wanted to talk from my point of view, what I think, and why it seems to be commonplace that there are many witches, many spiritual people on Love and Light side, on even Left Hand Path side, that have some sort of awakening and decide to turn Christian, essentially. That seems to be a common thing. One of the people I was asked to react on was Doreen Virtue, and she's probably quite a famous name for doing that. But why does this happen? Why is this a common theme? If you were to look it up on YouTube, you'll find a whole plethora of videos talking about it, and testimonies from said ex-psychics and ex-witches and ex-Satanists and all this crap. So why does this happen? Why? All right, I'm going to give you my opinion. Let's get into it. Hello, I'm Sarah. If you're new here, I hope you stick around. This is a safe space. This channel is all about sharing what I know. I share my opinion. I encourage you guys to share yours as well. Help each other out. Ask questions, no questions silly. Everyone's got to start somewhere. And if you like that, I hope you do. Hit subscribe and stick around. If you want to support the channel further, I do have YouTube memberships, a Patreon. I've got an Etsy store and a website. I do readings for people. If you're interested, please check it out. I'd be so grateful. I am also teaching tarot at the moment, as well as other spiritual things. So watch this space. It'll all be on Patreon or on memberships if you're interested. Thank you. The first thing I want to say, and this again, it's just my opinion. When it comes to Christianity in general, not everyone, but a lot of, but it's not all of them, but a lot of these people that revert back to Christianity, if you want to call it like that, are from America, the USA. And I'm not saying it's just the USA, because I've seen people from Britain, I've seen people from Germany and everywhere. It is a global thing. It's a global problem, you could say. But a lot of it comes from America. And Americans, I feel sorry for you guys, because my theory on it, and well, this is just me, but my theory on it is that your Christianity, your versions of Christianity are a lot more strict and a lot more stringent because they stem from Puritan sort of ideals. I mean, if you think of America itself and when it was, established as a nation, and you had people coming over from Europe, from England, Amsterdam. Amsterdam's just a country. It's not just a country, it's a city. Forgot the name. Netherlands. It was called Dutch, wasn't it? Holland. That was it. Forgot the name. Sorry. But all these places in Europe, France, Spain, we colonialised, we conquered, we invaded. And if you think about it, your history, and no offence, is tiny compared to the rest of the world, especially Europe. And Europe, our history, it goes back thousands and thousands of years. And in England, I mean, we were also subject to the Middle Ages and the Spanish Inquisition and things like this, where people were forced into being Christian. It was a convert or die after the fall of the Roman Empire, like when they were changing into Christianity. We have been forced into that too. But our history stems back further than yours, and we've got loads of different. How do I put this? Like, we have more ancient versions of Christianity than you guys, potentially, is what I'm trying to say. Puritan peoples in general were very strict. The English, we didn't put up with that. we had a whole civil war over that way back when. The Royalists versus the Roundheads. I'm sure that's what it was called. I can't remember. Or the Cavaliers, something like that. I am not a history buff, but I do know we didn't like the Puritans sticking around too much because we were like, this is too strict. They are the strictest form of Christianity, and from that births the movements you've got now. So that little tangent there was me saying, look, I feel for you guys, especially if you are in areas of the USA that is, if you are not a Christian in those areas, you're like the odd one out, and well, you're bullied, you're victimized, you're singled out, you're pressured into conforming, because that's the way of life, especially like small town America, the Bible Belt. I feel so sorry for you guys. There isn't autonomy in that regard, because if you go against the grain, then you are bad, and it's a witch hunt, no pun intended. So I just want to preface that a lot of this does stem from that sort of mentality. It's not exclusive to America, but that's my theory on America. It's not exclusive though, of course not. It happens anywhere. And I just want to say that the first reason I think and feel why ex-spiritual people or witches or whatever convert, find Jesus or whatever they want to call it, is because of that fear and pressure of being the odd one out, especially if you've got a whole family in this, all your friends are in this, it's an uphill struggle. It's something you're having to battle against constantly, isn't it? Just so much easier to just say, all right, I'm converting back. In addition to that, all the brainwashing, all the pressure. I mean, I can get, sucked in by peer pressure. I think we all can. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, especially if you're a kind, empathetic person. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. You want an easy life sort of thing. So a lot of the time, I think it's that. I think it's pressure from outside influences, from your community, your family, and things like this, to conform. And that sometimes it's so hard just to be yourself. And even if you don't think that it's the right thing for you, you go along with it for an easier life. So I would say that is the first glaringly obvious. Glaringly obvious. So I would say that's the first glaringly obvious reason why this happens. Pressure and, going along with the crowd, because it gives you an easier life. You're not having to constantly fight for yourself, I suppose. When you are getting pressured from, say the whole community around you, say you're in a situation like that, if you yourself, even though you might not feel that it's for you, say you're a pagan, I don't know, it could be anything, if you're questioning your beliefs and you're in an environment like that, if you haven't fully recovered yourself from your own religious background, if you come from that sort of background originally, you're going to be susceptible to be sucked back into it, to that way of thinking, because it's all about the psychology of things. If you are raised in a certain environment, the inner child will be reflected of that. And your inner child, that, to go with the flow, it's like a safe space, is what I'm trying to say. It's like, all right, there's safety in numbers. It's safer to do this. Oh, if all these people are saying it, it must be true. I'm just going to go with it. And I feel like if you haven't fully deconstructed the teachings you were, forced into as a kid, then you're going to be susceptible to falling back into them when times get, under pressure, is what I'm trying to say. I'm just using Christianity in America as the biggest example, but it's not just Christianity. It's not just America. It could be any religion. If you are raised in a strict, or, people who follow that background and that's what they believe, and they're constantly shoving it down your throat, and you're just constantly second guessing yourself, you haven't properly deconstructed it, you're going to be susceptible to be sucked back in. It's only natural you're going to be. Now, what I mean by deconstructing things is acknowledging that religion isn't inherently bad, but a lot of the rules and things, they are man-made and they rule in fear. And deconstructing is looking at it from an outsider's point of view. Look at the history of the religion. Like for me, as soon as I found out that the origins of Yahweh was that he was the Canaanite war and storm god, he was a pagan god, and that basically some people branched off from the Canaanite religion and said that they're better than the other Canaanites, and that's where we get Judaism from, and then it goes from there and morphs into Christianity and other Abrahamic religions. Islam's the newest one. So once I found that out, for me it was like a penny dropping. If you can look at the historical context of things, because it's there, that may help you if you look outside of it. Because at the end of the day, all religion is man-made, even some occultist movements and theories and things like this. Wicca was man-made. That's a new religion. And there may be seeds of truth in the man-made stuff, but this is why, me personally, I don't follow a said religion. I don't even follow a reconstructed religion. Sometimes I might like to follow some of the things the ancients did, like Deep Non for Hecate, which is a certain ritual for her on a new moon. But aside from that, I'm not following the rules of Hellenismos. I'm not following the rules of anything. My rules, my moral compass, what I feel inherently is right or wrong, being a decent human to what, I feel is the way, essentially. So deconstructing is trying to look at things through an outside lens and actually realising, we might have this written in a book, we might have a Bible, it might have teachings in there, but who wrote the teachings, really? Matthew, all right, was it really Matthew? Like, that's just off the top of my head, Matthew. Who was Matthew? Right, let's look into Matthew. Right, was it, a lot of the Bibles that, to my rudimentary knowledge, a lot of the Bibles, Gospel of whoever, it wasn't actually the prophet or Matthew himself that bloody wrote the thing. It was monks later down the line. I mean, the King James version of the Bible has been, retranslated, like manipulated is what I'm trying to say. I know St. Bede, he had a monastery not far from where I live, and this is how I know a little bit about like the Lindisfarne Gospels and things. They wrote down ancient texts and things like this. Like it wasn't them channeling God, if you see what I mean there. I know obviously that's a nuanced, touchy subject, but you've just got to try and look, well, where's this information coming from and who were these people? And we're in the age of technology. We're in the age of communication and the internet. And all I'm saying here, I'm no Bible expert, but bloomin' look outside of just what is in front of you. That's what I try and do with everything, not just the Bible, not just Christianity, even though I'm picking on them right now. I'm not trying to. But when I look at any occult books or magical books or reference books, right, who was the author? Okay, where is this coming from? Is there any historical evidence? Is this just pure channeled gnosis? Is there anything else similar out there that backs it up? Is there anything not? Like, what is this? That's what I'd say by deconstructing. Look at it through an analytical, or try and be as analytical as possible. What I would say, another reason, apart from the pressure, depending on where you live geographically, the community you're in, not deconstructing things as well. In the case of Doreen Virtue, who I was asked to react to, and I didn't want to just single her out, and then I had some DMs from people saying, oh, this one and that one. sometimes in the new age, it's not so much deconstructing, and I don't mean to slap this onto everyone, because some people can break away, but there's sometimes new age teachings that are blended with Christianity. So yes, people are Christian witches, that is a thing. I know some of them, and I've got nothing against that if that's right for you, but there is a danger, not to everyone, but to some people who might not have the strength to keep pushing back against, say, I don't know, their community who's trying to pressure them to go to this church or whatever. When it comes to Doreen Virtue, she was one of these people that was like this Christian witchy psychic woman who mixed everything together. And while Hecate herself, because that's who I follow if you don't know, but my goddess, and what I have learned from her is that there is no right answer. No, there isn't. And she is not going to pressure anyone into following her. I'm not here as someone preaching down at people, because I don't know every single thing. I'm only sharing my points of view. I'm always open to learning. I'm just trying to help as best I can, sharing the word that I know. That's all. But if you're trying to, mix this together, and I strongly feel that's what's happened with this lady, is just an example, because she was one of the biggest examples. It's like something snapped within her, like this, she calls it a breakthrough, an awakening, being saved. But you never really deconstructed in the first place. Like, you were never truly a pagan. You were never truly, a psychic without religion. You were mixing Christianity in with that, if you see what I mean there. And yes, like I say, there are Christian witches, there are folk witches and things like that, and some people are strong enough to keep that going, but there is this risk of, I suppose, something breaking. This is just my opinion, obviously, of getting to a point of, wouldn't it be so much easier, to just go along with it. Now, another thing as well, when you are spiritual, it's a fine line, and I've said this before on the channel, there's a fine line between mental health and spirituality. And the term spiritual psychosis is the buzzword, the buzz phrase of the day, because everyone's shoving that about like it's confetti. It's used so flippantly, it's losing meaning. But it is a thing, even though it's used so flippantly. And people do get delusional and carried away. Ego plays a big hand in all spiritual movements. And this is why I will never, ever, ever call myself a high priestess or any sort of position of power or anything like that. Because to me personally, you could have started your journey this week. And depending on your life experiences, depending on your natural talent, you could still teach somebody else something. We can all learn things from each other. Nobody is better than anyone else. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, and that's the way I see it, and I always will see it like that. But with New Age stuff, not just New Age, but left-hand path, all of it is an umbrella term. You do get many people saying that they are priests, priestesses, high priests, whatever. They are masters, like Reiki masters. And I know that's a supposed... That's another kettle of fish that I got asked recently on a live. But, people pay to study that, and fair enough, you may have a qualification in something. But it's the way it's worded. It's putting you in a position of power. It is an achievement in a way, and spirituality shouldn't be about that, and religion itself can be that way when you have priests, vicars, pastors, whatever you want to call them, in charge. And I mean, the Catholic Church is a whole hierarchy. To me, that shouldn't be the way, no matter what you want to believe. We all have a connection to the divine, to spirit, to higher powers. We're all capable of it. We shouldn't have to rely on another human to give us that. That's what I'm trying to say. Knowledge is unlocked within us on spiritual journeys. And I know myself, this knowledge, sometimes you're like, have I lost the plot? You literally sit and think that. There's things I've come to realise, things Hecate's shown me. I've done readings for other people. I do readings all the time. It's my job. I channel spirit. I mean, channeling even just people's spirit guides. I'm like, what on earth is this? Have I just lost the plot? It's overwhelming. And I think another reason for people turning to this is that they get so overwhelmed. It's a safety blanket, because if you're relying on, and this isn't just Christianity, it could be anything, but if you are relying on another human to keep you in check, like a teacher, like an authority figure, then you're not having to do the thinking for yourself, and you're not getting the scary information, because sometimes it's scary, it's overwhelming, and the universe is overwhelming, and it isn't as black and white as we want to think. So it's a safety blanket, it's a comfort zone. Right, I'll go back to that, because it's filtered down, and you might think you're going a bit crazy. You might think, oh my God, I've lost it. And some people do, because people don't stay grounded, and they let the ego get in control. They're like, I am so powerful, or I am so enlightened, and I'm so much better than blah, blah, blah. They might not say it, but they may think it and act it, because that speaks louder than words, is what I'm trying to say. And all in all as well, if you were to look up any of these videos, there's a load of them on YouTube, or even Doreen Virtue as an example of things she's saying now, it's all very convincing. It's the same sort of rhetoric that everything's a demon. and at the end of the day, even the most devout Christian has to pay bills, has to earn money and live on this planet. And there's the same where I come from, that money is a god. You might have heard of that. A lot of people worship money and value money, and I think even some of the most supposed devout religious people, not just Christians, I'm sick of just saying Christians because it's not just them, but you're not meant to have any other idols, you're not meant to worship anything else, but I'm sorry, you are worshipping that, because the value of even material things like money is higher than your God in most cases, is what I'd say. So I think it's very contradictory, all of it very contradictory. And if you look at these videos, they're very convincing. They even have me thinking, what? They are very convincing at what they want to spout out. So it can get you sucked in as well. You may think, oh, Corinthians, blah, blah, blah. The blah, 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 blah. I don't even know half this Bible stuff. But, John, Matthew, Luke, whatever, they said this, they did that. Oh, and this is a sin, and that's a sin. And if you have this in your house, that's a sin, and that's idol worship. And the Holy Spirit will guide you, blah, blah, blah. Jesus will save you, blah, blah, blah. It is convincing, because they speak with such conviction about it. It's like, what? It's easy to get sucked in. So even with me, even though I'm speaking about what I believe in and what I think and whatever, I'm never going to say, right, you must believe it and you're going to go to hell if you don't, and it's a demon, and I just say what I think. Take it if you want, leave it if you don't. Bye, But I do think if you haven't properly done your shadow work, which all that is your psychology. So if you haven't worked through your inner issues, if you haven't properly done that, if you haven't properly deconstructed, if you're under peer pressure, if you just want an easy ride, too much information, feeling a bit lost, not being grounded, all of these things add up, and that is why spiritual people, witches, turn back to organised religion. That is why. Spirituality is not an easy path. For it would be thousands of years, well, about 1,000 years, probably. I'm no history buff, but since that fall of the Roman Empire, since them bloody Romans decided to be Christian, they've got a lot to answer for in the indoctrination of the world, And because we have for generations been conditioned in being one of these religions, basically, as a common theme, as a collective, now, if you break away from that, even if you're not from the most strictly religious background, it is so hard to do so. Because have you heard of generational trauma? That stands because for generations, our ancestors, our near ancestors, even my own grandparents who have passed, they weren't going to church every single week or anything like that, but they believed in God. I mean, my step nana as well. Oh, you couldn't say Jesus. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, blasphemy. It's still these old school traditions, and that's just people. I don't know, boomer generation. Go back just even a few hundred years. If you think 500 years ago, that's nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's what, 5 lifetimes, like, I don't know, well, it'd be more than 5 lifetimes, wouldn't it? But I don't know, 10 generations back, you wouldn't have dared breathe. It was all about control. So if generational trauma is a thing, even scientifically, your genes alter because of what your ancestors have been through and things like this. It's hard to break from it. So being spiritual of any variety, of any flavour in the modern world is still hard. And it's not for everyone because not everyone can do it. I'm sorry to say it. Everyone should be able to do it. I mean, technically, anyone can try, anyone can open up spiritually and start learning. But you've got to have a strong will. It is not for the faint of heart, no matter what you are going to follow. And the likes of Doreen Virtue, I don't want to just pick her out, but because it's not just her. I've watched some of her videos. She was in her 50s when this happened. It can happen at any age. She's a testament to this. Years behind her belt of being spiritual, and then boosh, something snaps. Could happen to anyone. You've got to have the strongest of wills because you will be challenged and you will be, called names. In the short time I've been doing YouTube, the things I've been called, the dramas even I've had at my door because of speaking my mind in one way or another. You've got to be strong. You've got to. And only you can do that. You can call upon your spirit guides, your deities, whatever you believe in. But at the end of the day, it's your strength and what you can do. And it's not for the faint of heart, and it is not easy. So that is why people leave it and go religious or whatever. That's my take on it. I hope that answered what you guys wanted me to answer. The person who sent me the email as well, I did get your email. I'll hopefully at least reply shortly. I don't want to start like a war sort of thing. I don't want to start a whole thing, me against a Christian YouTube or something like that. I don't want to start that either because that's not spiritual. I don't want dramas, but this is my opinion and this is why it happens. That's what I think anyways. Let me know what you think. Make up your own mind. No offence to any Christian witches. You can believe what you want as long as you've got that will inside of you and that drive to keep going despite what people say. That's it really. I hope it helped. Take care till next time. Stay safe, stay witchy. Bye bye.